Hello and welcome to the show. Today I'm not in the audio booth, so apologies for any interruptions that bleeds in through the microphones. Today I'm going to be looking at a question from Matthew McConaughey. Now, this is not Matthew McConaughey, the actor. I am just using the name of the actor as a code name to protect the identity of the fellow who called in on my radio show. And this is a call I received last week. So let's call him Matthew McConaughey. Now, Matthew McConaughey is a real estate marketer who is based in Abuja. And he has a problem. The problem is he approaches people who look wealthy. They look like they're paid up. Skin is smooth, pot belly, driving Jeep, shoes is tight, as in, people who look like they gather, like they have money. And people take the flyer, but then the people never respond in follow up. So, Matthew McConaughey, the real estate marketer in Abuja, wanted to know, what are you supposed to do in these sorts of situations? Now, it was a very brief call, so I couldn't do any back and forth, so I couldn't get more details, because, there's lots of details I wanted to know. By the way, if you're one of those people who's going to reach out, not just on the radio show, but maybe reach out to me over on WhatsApp or reach out to me on LinkedIn, it would be nice for us to exchange banter back and forth, answer a couple of my questions. I'm not trying to be nosy. I'm just trying to get some more details, because the more details I can get, the better. Then I'm going to know how best to advise you guys on what to do next, because I need to know a little bit about you, a little bit about your approach, a little bit about the prospect, the client that you are trying to address, things like that. I need to get a sense of what your sales process is, your sales framework. These are the sort of things that are going to determine the kind of advice that I give you. But with limited information, we'll just go ahead and see how much help we can give to people who are in Matthew McConaughey's situation. So you real estate marketers in Abuja, listen up. Real estate marketers in Port Harcourt, listen up. Real estate marketers in Lagos, listen up. There might be one or two things that you can learn from here. Now, before we proceed, let's see. Yeah, shout outs. So today's shout out is going to go to the fellow, the individual, just identified himself or herself as Meaningful. That's the name on Spotify. And the person left a comment on the 7th of February 2025. And Meaningful said that he or she loves the show. Thank you very much for liking the show. Meaningful also said that there's room for improvement. And yes, I agree. There's always room for improvement because nobody is perfect. Although I'm not sure if Meaningful meant, as per in general, all of us have room for improvement, or whether there was room for improvement in the podcast. So, Meaningful. That's the reason why I give my contact details at the end of every single episode. So if you think that there are some shortcomings of the podcast or some advice that you want to give, or some questions you want to ask, you reach me on 080-6466-2140. The country code is +234. That's for those of you who are not Nigerian. And then, what else? Yeah, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. The name to look for is Tavishima Ayede. So I give my contact details all the time. So if you're like one of these folks, who like Meaningful, think that there's stuff we can do to improve the podcast, then yeah, sure, let me know. I'd love to hear from you guys. That's the whole point of leaving my contact details out there and leaving room to connect. Not just for people who want strategy sessions, business audits, or to answer questions, but also room for improvement. Then Meaningful is currently Meaningful used to be a banker for over 2 decades and is currently into financial advisory, and he or she leverages real estate. So because of that, Meaningful, I think you might find some of my older episodes interesting, especially the episodes where I talk about consultative selling, or selling like a doctor, because those of us who sell professional services, that's the only way that we can sell really and build credibility along the way. So Meaningful, thank you very much for reaching out. Well, by the way, this is the reason why I say, when you guys reach out, drop something now, like your LinkedIn handle, your Instagram handle, your business website, something. Because I'm also looking for ways to give back to the community. So for those of you who reach out and who show me love, at the very least, when I shout you guys out, at the very least, I should be able to say, follow the guys Instagram handle, or check the babe's website, stuff like that. So when you reach out, share the details. Apart from the shout out, let me know where you'd like me to send people to. And like I say, I always miss shout outs every once in a while. That's just because the podcast is growing in popularity now. I think on average, like 40, 50 people subscribing every week. That's on Spotify alone. That's the only way that I can get the stats. And, it's looking like every 90 days, I'm adding about 1,000 subscribers on Spotify alone. So, with a few of you reaching out to say what's up and stuff like that, some of these things will fall through the cracks. So if I haven't given you a shout out, it's not because I don't rate you. It's just, things happen. So just send me a message. Sorry, let me adjust the car seat. Sorry about that. So just send me a message and, I'll shout you out. And hopefully send people to your stuff so they can check out what it is that you do. All right, so the question for today from Matthew McConaughey. Again, not his real name. I'm just using Matthew McConaughey because Matthew McConaughey is a very cool and very chill guy. If you like watching his movies. And Matthew, the real estate marketer in Abuja, is also a very chill guy as well. So this is the problem now. Like I said, Matthew, he approaches people that look wealthy, they take the flyer, and they never respond when it comes to follow-up. Now, with limited information, this is the best that I can say. When people don't respond in follow-up, it could be a sign of a couple of problems. Number one, it could be a sign that there's no want or there's no need. So they don't want what it is that you sell. They don't need what it is that you sell. That's why people are not responding in follow-up. Then another problem could be that they can't afford what it is that you have. Because the average Nigerian, either for modesty reasons or politeness reasons, is not going to come out and say, look, I can't afford to buy this house or whatever. So the average Nigerian is being modest or being polite or being whatever it is, but they won't come out and tell you that, look, I can't afford this thing. So we have to learn how to read in between the lines. Then sometimes there might be a want and a need and people can afford it, but then there's no sense of urgency. Like take Dangote, for instance, who has all the money in Nigeria, or a good chunk of the money in Nigeria. I doubt that right now he wants to buy another house because his business is expanding all across Africa. And I'm sure he has a couple of cribs anyway. 1 or 2 houses in Abuja, 1 or 2 in Kano, maybe 1 in, PH, houses around Sha. So I'm sure for him, buying another house or buying another plot of land just is not on the table. So sometimes it's that. So if you run into Dangote and Dangote didn't buy your house, he's ghosting you. He's not responding to the follow-up. That could be one of the reasons. He wants it. He thinks he needs it. He can afford it. But, man, there's no sense of urgency right now because he's working on 1 or 2 things and maybe the money is better off spent somewhere. But the bottom line is this. You're not going to be able to know what the problem is. Want, need, afford, urgency. You won't know unless you engage people in conversation and you try to get to the root of what it is that is going on here. So, some of the conversation points or some of the ways that you can tackle this is when you roll up on people and you're trying to drum up business from them, the typical mistake, at least in Abuja Sha, for the real estate marketers that I've run into, the typical mistake that you make is, for some reason, you roll up on someone and you just assume that the person can buy the property and that the person is going to take action today. And that's a very weird assumption because there are different kinds of business scenarios. There are simple business scenarios and there are complex business scenarios. For a simple business scenario, a person can take action right now. And the example that I give on the podcast, I've been giving from day one over the last 5 years is egusi. Somebody can decide whether they're going to buy egusi right here, right now. But then some situations are complex. Complex situations have high price. Of course, the product itself is complex. A certain measure of human relationship is needed to close the deal. And some of these deals take a long time. For complex scenarios like that, don't expect somebody to just make the decision just like that. Now, let me give an example. Let me see. Okay, I've used the Goosey. Okay, let's say buying a car. Some people say no, buying a car is not a complex sale. But relatively speaking, a car is more complex than a Goosey. So let me just use that now. So a Goosey, you can roll up on somebody and say, bros, buy my Goosey. And the person can buy now or not. When it comes to buying a car, cars are expensive. That is several million. So who is just going to drop several million just like that? Then cars are complex. Lots of moving parts. So the person even wants to figure out, okay, this car looks okay. Is it brand new? Is it accidented? Okay, second hand. Which kind of second hand? Is it fairly used Nigeria, or is it fairly used Switzerland, or is it fairly used America? What is the mileage on this thing? Okay, the car is accidented. Where was the accident? What was affected? Do you have proper title? Did you bring it in through Lagos or bring it in through Cotonou and have the import duties been paid? All these sorts of questions now become important. You can see the complexity of the thing that is involved now. Then, of course, like I said, some of these things now, by necessity, involve a certain measure of relationship. Because if you're going to drop some serious drop some millions on a car, at the very least, if there's a problem, you want to be able to know where you can go and jack the person. You want to, feel the person out. Is this person trustworthy? Is this person a con man? Is this person a con woman? Can I trust this person? All these personal dynamics come in. Relationship comes in. Because, of course, it's big money and this is something that's complex. To avoid situations that touch. So that you don't drop maybe 50M on what you think is a correct Mercedes-Benz. And then in week 1, the thing breaks down 6 times. And then you now can't find the guy who sold you the car. And then, there's fire on the mountain. And because of the complexity that is involved and the money and the need for the relationship, there are just some things, complex sales scenarios that will take time to close. So for a Goosey, the guy can buy now. Like, okay, oh yeah, sure, no problem. How much is your Goosey? Okay, it's 4,000 naira a cup. Give me 3 cups. Maybe wifey has been harassing him at home. Now look, we need to make soup. So okay, I give me 3 cups. Then, but for the car, it's going to take a long time. The person is going to want to come and look at the car. Maybe do test drive. Maybe next time come back with wifey or come back with girlfriend. So, they can have a look at the car. Maybe come back with their brother and have a look at the car. Maybe even come back again with a friend who works in customs so that they can look at the import papers that you have for the car. It's not something that's just going to happen in 2 or 3 days. So for a Goosey, yeah, buy on the spot. But for a car, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks to buy the car. I don't know. It's been a while since I bought a car, so I don't know. But I hope you're beginning to get Matthew McConaughey and those of you who are real estate marketers in Abuja, Port Harcourt, Lagos, Kano, wherever it is you are. And sometimes your expectations are not pure. They're not realistic. The fact that I think you roll up on somebody now and the person will make a decision today, it's a little too naive. So you guys need to scale back your expectations. Because you're not in a simple sales scenario. You are in a complex sales scenario. So you need to be calming things down. You need to calm down. Calm down your expectations. So, instead of rolling up on people and trying to get them to buy your property, because there's some people that have just approached me like that in traffic, or maybe I'm just waiting to pick up wifey or the kids, and then they just approach me and they assume that I'm just going to make a decision then and there to come to the office or to go and see the plot or something. We need to have softer conversations to try and figure out if people want or need or are interested in the first place. So, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, for those of you who've been listening before, you're not surprised by this, but if this is your first time listening to the podcast, then pucker up. Well, no, not pucker. Perk your ears up and listen. So the conversation here should not be trying to get the person to make a decision. The conversation should be, Are you in the market for, or have you considered those sorts of things? Opening up the conversation. So, bros, hello, blah blah blah. Are you in the market for real estate right now? Are you in the market for a house right now? Bros, have you considered buying land as an investment? Okay, yeah, let's start like that. Hey, bros, how you there? I greet you. Bros, have you considered land as an investment before? That's not a bad way to start the conversation. If somebody says, "Oh no, I'm not interested," this is not the person to follow up with, because you've tried to open up the conversation with a simple question that can probe whether they want, they need, or they're interested, and the person has said they're not interested. This is not the person to follow up with. If they take your fire, fine. But trust me, this is not the person to follow up with. Sales is hard. Make it easier on yourself by looking for people who at least have claimed that they're interested. In those cases, you know that you stand a shot. Some people might say, "I'm interested, but now is not the right time." Okay, no problem. Drop your flyer. You can get their contact details. You put them into relationship nurturing sequences. Once in a while, you send them messages about promos, discounts on pieces of land that you guys have. Maybe educating articles from CNN or maybe Channels News or something on how property prices in Abuja make it an ideal investment, vehicle or something like that. But anyway, you get my point. So you should be starting off the interaction with these people, trying to figure out what they want, what they need, or are they interested. And you're going to do it by having simple conversational openers. So like in this case, have you considered buying property in Abuja as an investment? That's not a bad way to start. If you go to somebody's office and you're meeting them for the first time, maybe you enter GTB because your guy Kunle works in GTB. So you enter inside, you pretend that you're going to talk to Kunle. You sit at Kunle's desk for a while. And then you tell Kunle that, "Look, Kunle, I'm actually here to market my whatever. So like, who do you think I can talk to here?" Then Kunle says, "Well, and these people, those cashiers over there, they don't have money, but Madam BC's around. Maybe you go and talk to Madam BC." When you go into Madam BC's office, you don't start doing a hard close to try and get her to decide on something today because she's the branch manager. And because she's the branch manager, it means she has money. You go in there, pleasantries, small talk, introduce yourself, and say, "Oh, by the way, not to take up much of your time, Madam BC, have you considered buying landed property in Abuja as a form of diversifying your investments?" Something just, general conversation opener. Have you thought of buying land? I can't remember how I couched it. Have you thought of buying land as an investment before? So just start the conversation on that kind of note. Then eventually, for those who are real estate marketers like Matthew McConaughey, eventually you have to move to the afford part, and so you have to have conversations where you give a price range and then get some feedback. So you're talking to Madam BC. Eventually, you have to get to the point where you say, "Oh, Madam BC, by the way, most of the properties that we have, if you come through XYZ real estate marketers, cost within the prices of 12 million to 8 million as a deposit. Is that the kind of investment that right now you would be willing to make?" And then you keep quiet and then you hear. If she says 8 million, "Oh, no. No, I don't have that level of disposable income, something, blah, blah, blah." You're beginning to get a feeler of where she's at right now. Well, if she says, "Okay, 8 million, 12 million, 12 is on the high side, but, and it depends. It depends on what you people have, and it depends on where it is." You now know that, okay, there is room. It doesn't mean that the deal will close, but it shows that there is room. So we also have to get to this afford conversation pretty early. And you do that not by giving a price, but by giving a range and then getting some feedback. Is this something you can afford? Is this what you're willing to invest in? How does that sound with you? Are we in the same ballpark? What do you think about that? Hell, you can do this thing that one Igbo guy did to me recently. The guy gave the price and I said, "It's cheap, Abby." That's also another way of getting feedback. He said the thing, And then he said, it's cheap, Abby. And then I laughed. And then, of course, the conversation continued. But you see the point. He gave the price, and then he now tried to elicit feedback. Some of you will give the price and then keep quiet. The other person will say, okay, thank you very much. Just email it to me or send me the invoice on WhatsApp, and I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you later. Or let me think about it. But the Igbo guy did not wait for me to think about it or whatever. He asked for feedback on the spot. He said the price and he said, bros, it's cheap, Abby. So you give the range, you ask for feedback. If somebody is not sure, or rather, sorry, excuse me, still have a cold and all that. So if it looks like expectations around money, budget, if it's like you're not sure, maybe, this is not somebody that you follow up with aggressively. So the person who says, yes, that's reasonable, or, well, we can make it work depending on what you have, those people, you can follow up on. If you're not getting good signals, then you're not following up aggressively on this person. Then we also have to move into the urgency thing. Because if someone has the money and thinks it's a good idea, but there's no sense of urgency, then there's no point in following up. So, sorry, excuse me. Anyway, don't worry, I took my meds today, so hopefully for tomorrow's episode, my airwaves and sinuses should be clear. Let's see. So this is the part of the conversation now where for you real estate people, you start asking more specific and narrow questions. That is what gives you an idea of whether this person has a sense of urgency or not. Like you say, oh, okay, Madam Bisi, which parts of town do you have in mind? If Madam Bisi says, Abuja, maybe not Gwagwalada, maybe not Maraba, does that sound like someone who has a sense of urgency? No, think about it. But if you ask the person which part of town you're considering, and the person says, I've looked at Gwagwalada and I've gone to Karimo. I've also looked at areas in Municipal, but I think the property prices in Metama are too high. That kind of person, that sounds like someone who's ready to take action. The person has even done small research from the answer that they have given you. Now, doesn't this sound like a good candidate to follow up on? This is precisely the kind of person that you follow up on, because this person means business. They have gone around. They even tell you the places that they've gone. They've gone to Gwagwalada. They've gone to Karimo. They've gone to Central area. And they've gone into Metama. And they think Metama is too high. In your mind, you should be taking note. And maybe even making a note on your jotter. Because that will determine the kind of things that you show the person. The person has said, I think Metama too high. If the person says, I think Metama is too high, in the future, do you think it makes sense to start showing that person Metama properties? So, things to bear in mind. So, these are ways that you tease out urgency. And you can see that we're doing this through conversation. Now, let's say Madam Bisi says she's interested, but she wants to build. It only makes sense that you can also ask like, oh, okay, so what's your time frame? Or how soon would you like to build? It's a reasonable question to ask. No, you're not being too forward. Now, if Madam Bisi answers by saying, well, by the grace of God, nobody's in control of anything. But, if this and this and, anyway, God willing, if like by 5 years, I can be able to buy land or do groundbreaking ceremony, I think it's okay. Now, if somebody's talking like that, does that person sound like there's a sense of urgency and that we're good to go? But if the person answers, Madam Bisi answers, currently, my last born is in university for a 4-year course abroad, and that is currently taking up all my money. I would not be looking at any of these things until my last born graduates in 2029. I mean, that's different. Now you have a clear sense of a time frame. You have a sense of what this potential buyer, you have a sense of what their motivations are. It's also giving you a time frame, on which you can follow up with this person. Because currently we're in 2025. If she says her last born is in school and is not finishing until 2029, obviously this is not somebody that you're going to be following up with aggressively. So these are the kinds of questions that you can be asking that get people to open up, and then you get a sense of whether they have any sense of urgency. Okay, a simple one, self. You've spoken. It looks like you and Madam Bisi, you guys are vibing well and stuff like that. It looks like money expectations are on point. You can ask a simple question. So, excuse me. You can ask Madam Bisi, when do you want to start looking at properties? And then you keep quiet. That's also not a bad way of gauging how, the sense of urgency. If she says, oh, I'm swamped right now, we're having AGM, something for the next 3 weeks, for the next 3 months, I'm busy. But like from April 1st, I wouldn't mind seeing what it is that you people have. Now you've gotten a sense of whether there's a sense of urgency or not. You've gotten a sense of her availability or lack of availability, a time frame. You even now know how to start scheduling up. Because she's branch manager and it's supposed to be AGM, she's going to be very busy. AGM is going to finish so. She's going to be available for the next 3 months. Now, you know how to start scheduling follow up with this person. But I guess the main thing that I'm trying to pass across is this. For those of you who are real estate marketers like Matthew McConaughey, realize that there are simple sales situations and complex sales situations. And real estate is one of those complex ones. Because real estate, land, is pricey. It's complex. It's going to need relationships to move things along. And it's going to take a long time to close. So calm down. While you are calm, especially the first time you meet the person, try and engage in some sorts of conversations to figure out whether they want or they need or they're interested. The next set of conversations you have will be over whether they can afford. Then you'll also try and get a sense of their urgency or timelines. That is what it is that is going to determine who, most importantly, to follow up with, and then how you're going to follow up with them. Don't follow up with everybody equally. Because some people are not interested, some people don't have the money, some people have no sense of urgency. If you're trying to follow up with everybody equally, you're going to be very, very frustrated with people ghosting you. But if you try and have conversations with people early and try and make sure that you're only spending time with people who are worth spending time with, look, the rate of rejection will always be higher. There's no way you're going to close 100%. But life feels better. Let me put it that way. It feels better when you're talking to 20 people and 5 of them, it looks like, okay, you're making progress. Then when you're talking to 20 people and maybe 1 person, it feels like you're making progress. 6 of them, you're not even sure. And then 10 of them barely respond to your messages. And then the remaining, okay, how many is left now? 6? The remaining 6, you suspect that maybe they have blocked you. That's what we're trying to aim for. To make sure that we're spending time and resources with people who looks like they are good candidates to be spending time with. So, stop rolling up to people, real estate marketers, whether in Abuja, Kano, Port Harcourt, or Mogadishu. Stop rolling up on people thinking they're going to make this decision today. Engage in conversations. Are they interested? Can they afford? What are their goals? Is there any sense of urgency? If you do that, the journey will seem a whole lot easier. Now, Matthew McConaughey, unfortunately, that's the best I can do for now because I didn't have any more context. And so for those of you who are going to reach out, please, because when everybody reaches out, I send you guys the same set of questions on WhatsApp. The reason why I send those questions is because I'm not being nosy. I need to know some context so that will determine what it is that we're going to do next and the level of advice that we're going to give and the nature of engagement that you and I are going to have going forward. So, so that's it for today. If you'd love to connect, strategy session, business audit, or you have questions, then hit me up on WhatsApp. The number is 080-6466-2140. The country code is +234. Then also connect with me on LinkedIn. The name to look for is Tavishima Aide. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.